All right, we are on, and thanks so much for joining for today. It's a pleasure to have you here. This is Crucible Tarot. We're going to be reading just a random message for whoever needs it. I've gone ahead and shuffled the cards, laid them out, and decided, what will be the direction for this particular story. So it's a pleasure to have you here. If you like what you see and what you are gaining from these messages, please be sure to give a like, share, subscribe, ding the notification bell so you don't miss updates from future postings. And furthermore, just feel free to support the channel in any way that you can. I have updated the donation link. I will try to get something a bit more sturdy later on, but I think we're going to try this one to see if it works. If not, I'll switch to a full-out PayPal account. Anyways, that said, we're going to go into the message. We have cleared the cards. We're going to go ahead and use the Warrior of Love Tarot, which is Luna Marie's tarot, not Lisa Marie. That's I think that's like Elvis Presley's daughter. But we're going to look into the message, see what is available to you for you to learn from this. I've decided to shuffle the cards, and the first message, the central theme of all of this, is actually the one from the box. It's the Lovers card. So the Lovers initially was known as the Decision card, because it was a union, not necessarily between two people. It could be that, but it could be between matches of the heart and the head. It could be between, two opposing decisions or things of that nature. But let's say, for example, this was a message of love and that we needed to gain something specifically from that. What we're looking at is a story where someone is learning how to connect, how to reconnect with other people who may be slightly disparate from you, but it's all about strengthening your bond to the things that matter most. And whilst it can seem like a daunting task, that is primarily the kind of path that you're on right now. So if you have something like a North Node in Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio, this would be the type of lifestyle that you're living right now, where you are actually moving towards a more authentically expressive form of your emotional state, moving away from the opposite signs of those, which would be Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, which are more pragmatic and earthly based and solution orientated. This is now testing your ability to feel and to expand your emotional happiness, because sometimes when we get trapped too much into the earthly realm, things become a bit dry in our life, and it can lead to a strict imbalance where things become overly materialistic instead of being felt at the soul level. So myself, I have a North Node in Cancer, which means that I have to go deep within the depths of my life in order to feel at an intense level, and not only to be protective of emotions, similar to the way the crab would defend itself, but also to feel and understand what my core nature is. And so in doing so, this is what this talks about. The Lovers is Gemini, so maybe a Gemini is coming into your life, maybe not, we're not really sure, but this tells us about the connection that you have. Now, surrounding this, clarifying this initial card, we have the Five of Swords. So that's Aquarius, Libra, Gemini, and this is also Venus in Aquarius energy. Not necessarily the best energy. We have the we have the Knight of Wands in the reverse, which is typically a Leo, Aries, Sagittarius card. Normally it's Leo. Normally it would be Sagittarius, actually, because the Knight implies movement, and that's a very mutable method of expressing fire. And then finally, we have the Five of Wands. So you have two fives. This is the essence of GEVURAH, and GEVURAH is number 5 in the Tree of Life. It is the alchemic process of changing the substance and the essence of things. And so you're moving from the intellect into the action-orientated way of expressing your life. So from the Five of Swords to the Five of Wands in the reverse. So with this Knight of Wands in the reverse, it can feel like the Five of Swords relationships that you've had. Now, when you have a Venus and Aquarius kind of modality of expression with the Five of Swords, this can mean that there's been a lot of difficult expressions of love and of connecting with other people, sometimes in dealing with the people that you surround yourself with every day. And what this in turn does, this leads to dealing with people who behave in a cutthroat manner, people who are not necessarily scrupulous, people who are willing to do whatever it takes at all costs to receive what they want. And it's a very selfish energy at many times. Sometimes it can mean outsmarting an opponent and finding a way to defeat them, so that way you can remain victorious. However, what I see in this, we have the Lovers as our first card, but when you look closely at this Five of Wands, and even in the traditional Rider-Waite Tarot, you have two opposite people, two opposing forces of the intellect. And what this talks about is a disassociation between two complementary forces within the mind. So not to say that you have dissociative disorder or anything like that, but what it's saying is that you're feeling detached from the rest of the world, and it is making it very difficult for you to feel as if you relate to people outside, because you feel that the world in itself and the people that you communicate with on a regular basis do not connect with you. They may have even been cruel to a degree, or you feel as if you just are a misfit in a world where people are just going out for themselves and not necessarily, making an effort to connect with you. Whether this is true or not, I won't say that. But what this does, this leads you to the Knight of Wands energy, which is opposite the Lovers. So instead of connecting at a deep level about your life, your soul's purpose, connecting in a relationship with people, maybe even a soulmate or romantic relationship, you've received the Knight of Wands energy, which has actually made life feel a bit aimless. The Knight of Wands moves towards that which it is passionate about and makes the effort to chase things that it wants to pursue. However, with the Knight of Wands in the reverse, this can be someone who does this aimlessly. You may feel as if it's difficult for you to achieve those passions that you have wanted to achieve for a while. Oftentimes, it can tell us about people who have a lot of unrequited experiences, not even just a love or romance or things of that nature, but it can tell us a little bit about you always feel like you're chasing things that never look back at you, and they never turn around and acknowledge your presence. So it can feel like a wandering or an aimless feeling in your life. You go after relationships, those relationships never come, and you find that it's difficult for you to maintain a connection with other people. You chase after jobs, and those jobs don't sustain you. You end up having to look for new work elsewhere. You try to find a good circle of friends. Those circle of friends dissipate, and then you're left by yourself. So this is why you moved then into the Five of Wands energy in the reverse, because it's just not something that you want to fight for anymore. And with that energy, it's not. Normally the Five of Wands can talk about competition. It can talk about playing games with people in many ways, but it's like now, it's almost like you're choosing peace rather than pursuit. And that could be the title of this anyway. You're choosing peace over the pursuit, because you know that the pursuit is fruitless, and it feels to you like you're just not to say that you're giving up per se, but it is now a realignment with your true desires. whatever it is that you've been chasing over the last, over the years, maybe, or for a long period of time, maybe this is something that you have to drop and then you have to turn inward, because when you turn towards the external, this is ideally something that is within your reach. But oftentimes when we chase things, they run from us. When we pull back and center our energy, remain grounded in our own internal world, that is when we start to attract those things that are conducive to us. And I say that a lot of times throughout my readings, but I try to really, focus in on that specific theme throughout my readings, which is so within, so without, as within, so without, making sure that the world within you is the central force that then in turn manifests the world around you. And it can seem contradictory, it can seem almost like a bit maddening to do that. But that is the source of happiness. Now, moving into the recent past, things that happened in the recent past, you have the Strength card in the reverse, clarified by the Chariot. So the Strength card is number 8, the Chariot is number 7. So recently you had to move away from something, and then due to this, you were feeling very depleted in the process. So maybe you left a long-term relationship, which doing so has significantly altered the course of your life and has left you feeling as if your resources are not there for you, or maybe even that you just feel drained energetically, mentally, and it's time for you to kind of go into the 9, which is the Hermit, which is going to allow you to have that regenerative period where you can reflect on what's taken place in your life. And so with this Chariot card and the Strength card, it's telling me that in the pursuit of all these things, it's probably created a lot of, tumultuous situations in your life where you've had to kind of sacrifice a lot in order to attempt to allow these things into your life. So say, for example, you may have moved abroad for a connection. You may have traveled across the country so that you could find a new job. You may have broken your back basically to try to take care of a family. And, it's this immense amount of sacrifice that I feel here that has created the significant alteration of your life as you've tried to pursue these things. It's like when you move to it with the Chariot and then you finally get to the you attempt to get to the destination, but it leaves you in the Strength in reverse. That tells me that you have overexerted yourself in the pursuit of these things. And it is time for you to reassess that, not even just to take a break, but to reevaluate your trajectory in life, because this has in the past created a great amount of exhaustion in your own life, in your own world. However, good news is that we have the Empress. So this is your current energy, and this is number 3. This is the Venusian sign that talks about Taurus or Libra, and this is the ability to be fecund, abundant, to be able to grow and multiply, not just individuals, but yourself, your sense of self-worth, your value. These are all Venusian qualities that allow you to see not just your relationships with people, but your relationship to yourself. Because without the ability to understand your inner value, your personal value, you will never understand what kind of value you have when you interact with other people. So this is almost like a reclamation of the value in which you exert or show to the rest of the world, as well as the value you feel within. And again, as within, so without. What is clarifying this is the 6 of Cups. And with the 6 of Cups, you are looking back at those past experiences. You're looking at you're looking at the past experiences in your life where you realize that the value you have contributed to other people was wasted, but not gone unnoticed, because the universe understands that you do want to give a lot of love to people. The universe understands that you want to be an amicable friend to those that deserve it and to those who don't. You understand your value and the chance to actually let go of that when necessary. Maybe the universe maybe you understand that looking into the past, you see some of the mistakes you made, but you've also seen the positive growth and change that you have experienced along this path, because the Empress is about growth and expansion. So in looking at this, you're looking back and you're reminiscing and you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, that relationship was bad, but I've realized that I was willing to go the distance. I'm pouring my value and my worth into everything that I do in life. I didn't get that chance to go to that, premier school, or I didn't get the chance to get that top job that paid 100K a year. But you know what? My skills, my talents, my connections have grown so much that I could potentially go in a different direction, change my trajectory, as the Chariot in the reverse the Chariot in the upright tells us, that instead of depleting myself on a lost cause, maybe I can give to something that is going to sustain, because now I have clearer understanding of my value and what I contribute to people. So certain people will not be able to receive that value because it's priceless now. You see yourself as priceless. And so therefore, not everyone has the ability to receive a priceless gift. If you think lesser of yourself, you will give yourself to everything because you have cheapened yourself. If you are priceless, the person that holds the key to your heart, who gives you the new job, is going to have to understand and recognize what you offer and what you bring to the whole equation. So in the near future, what this does is this Five of Cups in the reverse tells us that you're getting over the disappointments from the past because you are now looking at the future. You're looking at the past in a more positive light. And you're seeing, maybe if I stand this on my head, or maybe if I stand the situation on its head, maybe I can understand it a little bit better in a more optimistic trajectory. The reason why Five of Cups in the reverse is because the Nine of Swords. You don't want to be in your head. You think about all the times in which you were in your head, and that the overthinking, the excessive pedantic analysis of things that you have experienced has to be brought to an end. Now that you see your worth and your value, you know that it is insufficient for you to give your heart and soul to things that just take. And again, they need to be rebalanced once there is a foundation. Remember we spoke in the beginning about having a North Node in Cancer or Pisces or Scorpio. It's about learning the depth of your own inner workings, your own value, and using the memories of the past to weave your thread to the future. That is precisely what that's all about. In the past, because you had that Nine of Swords energy, now you're moving from the Nine of Swords into the Five of Cups in the reverse, because you realize that it is not worth it to carry the burden of regrets and missed opportunities and what ifs and the accumulation of a lot of stressful, cortisol-inducing kind of behaviors that will not actually lead to anything fruitful in the future. Now you have your worth. You can put down those Nine of Swords. Now, the most interesting thing about this reading, we have the King of Cups as your outcome. And this is clarified by the Page of Cups. So you go from the Page in the past to the King of Cups. It starts with you communicating to yourself, you are worthy of love. You are worthy of that good job. You're worthy of a good circle of friends. It's that conversation that you have with yourself and that inner dialogue that has to take place in order for you to understand what it is specifically that you need to do and to understand and recognize about yourself in order to build a fulfilling life. And so moving from the page in the past to the king shows me that you're going into a period in which you master that message. Matters of the heart are precisely what you have to do in this lifetime. Matters of the heart are the things you have to master in this lifetime. By doing this, you are giving yourself full authenticity and the full depth of emotion and range of emotions and the stability needed, because the King of Cups is the stable emotional card. With all the chaos around it, the King of Cups remains steadfast in his own energy. With that cup, it's not going anywhere. It's stable, it's secure, it is an anchor in a world gone mad. Oftentimes in the past, told myself, when it feels like the world doesn't care to the same depth that you care, or you feel that you have been overlooked in love relationships, or you've been overlooked in jobs, rather than focusing on the fact that you feel overlooked, understand that people of a lower nature cannot have you in the way that you think that they should. Again, if you cheapen or you debase yourself, then you will never see your true value. You will cheapen yourself. You will allow for the lowest of people to take advantage of you. And a lot of this, because you have 2 5s, and because we're dealing with GEVURAH and this central energy, this talks about the aspects of GEVURAH and Archangel Samael, which talk about reinforcing boundaries, defense of self, strategy, things of that nature, and limitations and judgment. Because of those 5, those 2 5s, this is about learning how to be more judicial in your affairs with other people, because what you don't want to do is to lack judgment. And this is a very common theme in the modern world today. People lack scrutiny and judgment. They lack self-reflection. And this is the downfall of a large chunk of society, where accountability is kryptonite to many people because they've never had to face judgment. Well, in this reading for this person, you feel as if you've only faced that judgment from the external. It's time for you to bring that within yourself, wield it. And when you are able to discriminate against all the issues that you've had to go through in the past, you no longer have to experience those things long term. You cut things off immediately when they need to be cut off. You stop things when you need to stop them. If a job doesn't pay well, or they start to do awful things, you have the experience to move elsewhere. If a person you're interested in doesn't require the love that you show them, pick up your stuff and move on. It is time for you to start wielding your worth, so that way life feels worth living. I don't know why I feel like I need to say that, but for whoever that message goes to, life feels worth living. If you adjust your behavior and your way of seeing the world and not pursue fruitless endeavors, you will instead move swiftly to yourself. And that is something that no one can take from you. So I'll leave it there. Thank you very much. This is Crucible Tarot. We've been reading just a random message for anyone who needed to hear it. I felt compelled to read tonight just to kind of see if like anyone needed a specific message. That's the one that's come out today. Again, if you like this, please be sure to give a like, share, subscribe, ding the notification bell, and feel free to support the channel in whichever way you see fit. I'm going to leave it there now. Thank you so much. And as always, VIAM, GEVURAH, AMBULO. Bye now.